Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast all about movies. Each episode is about a specific movie, and we'll get to that movie in a little bit. But first, I need to invite you, yes, you, the listener, to give us your fan recommendations for the fan vote, which happens during today's episode, which was last time. It's going to be a little bit since, until the next vote because our 100th episode is coming up. So on the 100th episode, we have a special thingamajig happening, which we'll reveal later in a couple episodes. But if you want to get your fan request in by the next vote, just make sure you send us an email at ff.filmfreaks with a Z at the end at gmail.com or comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks on YouTube. Or you can chat in the Discord, in the Ferret Nation Discord, in the movie section, and let us know what you want. Or if you get on the podcast, damn, just go ahead and just tell it to us at the end of the episode, and we'll pencil you in. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves before we introduce the movie. I am a ferret within a ferret within a ferret, and I'm here with
Inception waffles.
The Architect Tay.
The shade of blue callus.
Yes, how's everyone doing? It's a bit of a dreary Sunday afternoon here.
Yeah.
Same,
Bright
yes.
and warm here.
It started off good. It was nice and sunny, and now it's just kind of just meh.
Yeah, today was like very sunny most of the day, and like just an hour ago it just started storming.
It's the first layer of the dream callus.
Yes.
True.
Somebody is dreaming and like in their shower or something. That's how you exist.
Well, someone fell asleep in the shower.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, Callus, go ahead and introduce the movie since we're all itching to talk about this one.
Yes, with pleasure. So I chose Inception, one of my personal favorites. I would probably put it like in my number 2 spot favorite of all time, honestly.
Mine winners.
Movie is Inception, released in
Thunder.
2010. Directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars... Wait, well, let me do the description first. A thief who steals corporate secrets through the use of dream-sharing technology is giving the inverse task of planting an idea into the mind of a CEO. But his tragic past may doom the project and his team to disaster. This movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Elliot Page, Ken Watanabe, Tom Hardy, and a full cast of other peoples, including Marion Cotillard. So, yeah, I guess I would start this conversation by telling my personal experience, like a quick little story of when I first saw this in theaters. I was very excited to see it. I saw it opening night, I think, and I went with a few friends. And like when we were seeing the opening scene of like that first mission, they woke up into like that room with like the whole mess of crowds outside, and like then they showed the people on the train, and we realized that they're still dreaming. So it's like they were in a dream within a dream. And like when we realized what was going on, my friend turned to me and he already said like, "This movie is awesome." And that's like how I feel about this whole movie. And just like to me, it's just like it was such an amazing experience. And no matter how many times I've seen it like a dozen times. I never get tired of it. Wait, this is starting to sound like a end review.
Yeah.
So what do you guys? So what do you guys think of the opening scene?
You talking about the opening scene, or
Yeah,
The first mission.
Yeah,
He
which
wakes
opening
up on
scene?
the ocean or on the beach, and then
Not that, like just the first mission. Well, the first glance of like getting a dream within a dream.
gotcha. I mean, for me, I really liked it. I think it was done really well, especially when you realize, oh, they're still dreaming. I mean, I first saw this in theaters, I remember going like, okay, wait, what? Like, just the whole people being in dreams was just kind of weird. But like, I think they do a good job in that scene with Leonardo DiCaprio, like talking about how he's the best extractor. So.
yeah,
So I think it went really good. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, obvious. The first time you watch it starts off confusing, but
Hmm.
this is like my third time watching it, and I get what's going on. You kind of understand it. Yeah, there's some mumbo jumbo thrown in there here and there, but on multiple watches. Ooh,
Jeez.
cow!
Wow,
That's
you
a
guys can hear
monsoon.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. It sounded like it was right next to you.
Wow. I'll mute it for now until I have something to say.
Just don't forget to unmute.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
um, but on this watch, I think this is my third watch of it because I watched it in theaters, watched it at home because when this movie came out, I was in high school, so kind of like Callus, it's like, oh, this is awesome, On this watch, I still think it's awesome, but I understand what's going on, so it's even more awesome.
Yeah. This was probably my third or fourth. I saw it a few times in theaters, and then I haven't seen it since. But I always, I liked it. But watching it this time, like there was definitely things I missed originally, like the whole they explained like where the dream serums and everything and sharing dreams came from, and I swear I think I missed most of that. When I was
Yeah.
younger. I
The
was just
thing
like,
about
what is this? Why do they have this?
Yeah, like the thing about this movie is like they're just explaining so many little details and it happens so fast. So you
Yeah.
gotta like constantly pay attention, or otherwise you're gonna miss one little detail. And this like it's really cool how they do it to where like the story is progressing, but even like an hour and a half into the movie, they're still like explaining certain things. So they're just like keep throwing in details here and there, like in between all the other stuff that's happening.
And it's nice to
Damn.
have Elliot Page there
Yeah.
to kind of be like the new member of the group, and that kind of acts as our bridge into the world. Even though they pick it up quickly,
Oh yeah, that's true.
all of the all the mumbo jumbo that's explained to them resonates with us because we're also learning all this stuff as they're learning it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate like they, because there's some movies where they're just like, well, there's a new guy. Well, why is there a new guy? I don't know. We need somebody to be like you, the audience, and
Yeah.
but they explained it really well in this one. It's like, this is why we need a new person. This is why Cobb can't do it. Also, we lost our last one.
Last guy was a jerk, so he's probably dead.
Yeah. I feel that was weird though, where they're just like, they immediately like, oh, we don't care that he turned us in. So what are you gonna do with him? We'll just let him be. It's like, well, can he come with us then? I guess they didn't want him because he wasn't secretive enough.
Well, yeah, once the guy turns you over, it's hard to trust him again. And he's supposed to be their architect, the guy that makes the mazes for them to go through.
Yeah.
Well, who knows if he's still alive after they turn him back into Kobold. So
Right? Yeah, he's like I said, he's probably dead. He's probably out of here.
oh, that.
Mhm.
Or is he? Maybe he was just dreaming.
Turns
Well,
out-
as someone who's only watched it twice, this is my second time, and the first time was when it did recently, when it came out in 2010. So it's been like long enough where I
20
kind of,
plus years.
yeah, where I kind of forgot about the movie. It's like one of those like you
Wait.
know what you're going into
10
seeing,
years.
but you forgot like some of the premises. But yeah, I mean it is confusing as like a refresher, and no, I haven't watched it 4 or 5 times like you guys have, but it does get a little confusing at times, and I think that's kind of some of my points taken off from it. But like I said, the more times you watch it, the more you'll understand. It's one of those movies you have to watch a couple times.
for sure. Which is why I saw it in theater so many times, because I was like, I think I really like this movie, but I don't know. So it is one you have to
Yeah.
watch a few times before you go, okay, yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
You're
one of
Yeah,
those
there's
ones that
like,
needs
was I
your
dreaming in this movie?
Yeah, there's like so many complexities that they kind of do have to explain so many different things. So it's like it's sort of like a necessary evil, but I think they do it like smoothly enough, well enough to where it also like makes people want to see it like a second and third time also because of that.
And I don't know if you have to watch it multiple times to understand what's going on, but I feel like by the end of it you should get the base
Yeah, you get the
concept of
base,
it.
yeah,
And that's
throughout.
really all you really need is like, okay, they're in a dream within a dream within a dream, and then Leonardo DiCaprio goes into limbo or whatever with the guy who got shot, right? And
Yeah.
that's really all you need to understand, and then they get the kick to come back. So I do feel like even though the movie is a bit complicated in the lore, by the end of it you should have a basic understanding of what's going on, and that's that way on a second watch. If you do watch it right away or maybe a year later or so, you're already going in with the baseline understanding, and you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I already know this, so I can focus more on these other things that they're explaining.
I feel like I'm in the middle of Poltergeist. The thunder just keeps getting louder and closer to me. I'm about to have like a branch coming through my window.
Oh,
Anyways,
The perfect clip for the highlight. Branch comes
anyways,
through
maybe you're
podcaster's
just
window.
dreaming. Maybe you're just dreaming about it.
yeah. But yeah, I guess it was none of our first times, but I did watch it with Tater, who was her first time watching, and
Ooh.
she was
Ooh.
yeah, I get a word.
You didn't bring her on? Come on.
She wasn't available.
Ah.
We talked about this. I tried. Anyways, she even though by the end of it she did say that she was confused by it, she still ended up really liking it a lot. So it's a good sign that even though you were confused, you still end up really liking the movie.
Yeah, if a movie's interesting enough and has enough going on, no matter how confused you are, you're probably still gonna like it. There's still gonna be that baseline. Oh, I enjoyed it. Did I understand it? Maybe not.
Well, like I said, you head into a movie like this and you expect to be confused, and that's your main takeaway. You're like, yeah, okay, I'm going into this movie. I'm gonna be confused, but does it? What do I get from it? And you still understand what they're trying to put out there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Hello? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is this not
Yeah.
working?
Hello, is that thing on?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I guess nowadays this movie it has enough weight behind it that most people or it's been parodied to death. It's been talked about to death. So at this point, going into the movie with a fresh blank slate is probably very rare at this point. I mean, I know it's been 10 years, not 20, 10 years since it's come out. But I feel like this is one of those movies with a lot of staying power. And I feel like if someone is going into this movie completely blind, it's kind of a blessing. It'd be fun to watch this movie for the first time again.
Yeah, if I could erase my mind and watch this for the first time again, I would totally do that.
Well, go out into the rain and get struck by lightning, and maybe that'll happen.
Sure.
Get struck by that tree branch.
Yeah, the tree branch lands right on your head. What were we talking about? Inception. What's Inception? Oh, yeah. Here we go.
We'll be like, oh, just go watch a movie. You'll be like, okay.
What if you watched it again and it wasn't your second favorite movie of all time?
What if you dream about it tonight?
Yeah, and it's I've seen it so many times by this point that I didn't even need to rewatch it. I could just come in here and be able to bring up all the details that I needed to, but don't worry, I rewatched it this time. Don't worry.
And we know. We only know because you said you watched it with Tatum. So if you didn't say that part, I wouldn't believe you.
Of course.
So, obviously, this movie is very special effects heavy.
Yes,
and
very
I feel
heavy.
like all of it held up pretty well. I think the only part that I was like, oh, that didn't age too well, was the part where Elliot Page and Leonardo DiCaprio are stepping onto the street that's at a right angle.
Oh, when they go to the 90-degree angle? Yeah, that looked very weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But the rest of the movie looked great, and there's actually a lot of practical stuff happening.
Yeah, I'll say a lot of it was practical, is why it
Mhm.
holds up so well.
That whole rotating room scene in the hotel, I've seen the pictures and the footage. That's actually a rotating room.
Yes.
That's so awesome. I was just watching that scene and smiling the whole time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they built the
Is
whole
it
thing
bad?
in a suspended machine that just rotates.
Is it bad that I watched that scene? I thought about Doctor Strange because it's kind of
Well,
similar. Like I
Yeah.
was like, oh man,
yeah, I
that's like
mean,
Doctor Strange. Where
Yeah.
all
Well,
the worlds are like mirrors are coming in.
they
I
definitely
mean,
took a
Doctor
lot of
Strange came out
inspiration,
much later, so they were able, they were able to get some of those effects to look a little better.
especially the second Doctor Strange movie, the
Hmm.
Multiverse of Madness or whatever. That takes a lot of inspiration from this, especially with the effects. Even the first Doctor Strange has like like the kaleidoscope buildings and stuff like that. You definitely see the inspiration from this movie.
Do you think Doctor Strange? Do you think they borrowed that rotating hallway for that movie?
Now they copied.
I'm sure they did it on a green screen or something stupid.
Yeah.
Marvel would never do anything practical anymore. I mean,
Oh,
have
I
you
guess-
seen
True.
background? Have you seen the behind the scenes footage of just actors in giant green rooms?
Yes.
Hello,
I guess they
Wanda.
wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't have borrowed it because like different actors were like in different walls or ceilings. So yeah, it wouldn't make sense to put it in the rotating hallway.
Yeah.
So yeah, never mind.
Well, and Doctor Strange had a lot of influence from the comics itself about like how everything was psychedelic and like that was in the comics from the 70s when whoever drew it was probably on acid.
Into the part of the podcast where we're talking about a completely different movie.
Yes.
It's-
I mean,
some
it's my
part.
fault. I brought it up. But...
It relates though. It definitely relates. But yeah, I found a lot of like the special effects to be like really they held up really well. I especially that part where where the city's like starting to bend and pull over, like that looked amazing. Um, there's stuff later on with like the flood. Well, I guess the water actually did flow into those buildings, so all that stuff looked great. The whole movie just really held up really well, except for that one scene where they step onto the street.
Yeah.
And you can tell they kind of like try to, uh, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of
Finagle.
work it out because they had the camera rotating at the same time. They're like, oh, maybe if we had a little more of a rotation, like maybe people won't notice as much. But it's alright.
Yeah, there's just something inherently strange about how they kind of morph onto it.
But a scene that really did hold up well is when they were first they're first in the girl's dream, and like everything starts exploding around them. I thought that was a really good scene.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
And that held up
camera
well.
work and
Yeah.
It was clearly CGI, but it did hold up quite well. Like especially just like how everyone was standing still and it was just exploding around them. Like
Hmm.
they did a good job.
I wish we had seen like more stuff like that because stuff like that happens just once in the whole movie and just we never see it again. Or like the scene where like when Cobb was doing the first mission and like the first architect he tried to wake him up by slapping him in the face and then you see Cobb just flying across the room. Like that's also the only time we ever see anything like that.
Well, that's because they're heavily sedated later on. Slaps do nothing. They made a point of showing, see, the slap is doing nothing, even though in the dream they may be flying around. We don't know.
Yeah.
No, I honestly thought that's how like that scene that we just talked about was gonna be like the end instead of like more like a Call of Duty type of style where they're just like in snowsuits like sniping everyone. I was like, what? Well, I mean they weren't sniping everyone, but there was that big scene. I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
yeah, the third dream layer was kind of bizarre to have like the snow assault and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I feel like they needed some sort of big ending, big ending bombastic
Yeah,
thing
bombastic.
happened.
That's gonna say.
Because even though that limbo, I guess the fourth dream you could call it, even though the limbo area is
Five
cool or
stages of
interesting,
Dreams.
it's just it doesn't have the same kick as the snowmobiles and the Hummers with the snowmobile treads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like honestly, those whole scenes when like they're fighting all the snow guys, that was like very forgettable, and to me, it's like not why I watched this movie, why I like it so much, And like there's so many of those action scenes, which I guess they do have to like throw in some action in this action movie. Whoa,
Hey,
Oh my
Jeez.
god.
That was
Wow.
jeez.
that was very close.
Recording outside or something?
I do find it a little weird that it only takes 4 levels to get to subconscious, and like only Cobb has done it, and his wife. And it's like no one else ever tried to go just 4 deep.
They say it
Um,
could be done.
I don't know if it just takes 4 levels. I think that's just like the one guy happened to drop in there because he died in the 3rd level.
Well, no,
So
because
then Cobb went after him.
Elliot Page's character goes to sleep, like with Cobb, in the snow
Well, yeah.
realm, and immediately that just takes him down to subconscious.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking they connected to Fisher's mind because he died and he went to limbo, so they connected to his mind when they went to sleep.
Okay.
Which does make it a little bit weird that it's all what Cobb and his wife built.
Yeah.
Yeah, they try to make sense of it, being how when they describe like the only thing down there in limbo is the only thing remaining from the last person that was there, included in the group of people that are dream sharing. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole movie is just like you just need to throw logic out the window. The most ridiculous line in the whole movie is when Cobb says, "His subconscious is militarized." Like you hear that and you just think, okay, there's like no logic in this movie. Let's just throw logic out the window right now.
Yeah,
Well-
I do. What was the? I just had a thought about like a line along those lines where just like, yeah, okay, that was a line that was said, but now I forgot it.
Yeah, it's funny how Christopher Nolan writes all this like insanely detailed dialogue, and then there you have lines like that where it's like he's militarized his dream. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Or like
That's a
he
thing, huh?
spends all this time writing this lore and he names his main character Dom Cobb. Like, what kind of name is that?
Fine name. My friend Don Cobb would be outraged.
I guess he was inspired by Fast and the Furious when he saw Dom eating some corn on the cob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which one's Dom? Is that Vin Diesel?
Yeah, Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Family.
Yes.
Family.
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 This is unrelated. But the trailer for the
Inception.
new Fast Furious movie, where like family is said like 20 to 30 times. just
Oh, yeah.
in the trailer.
They knew what they were doing. They did it on purpose.
Yeah, they did.
A little bit late. The memes kind of dried up, but
So funny though.
So, but back to Inception.
they said the name of the movie at least 2 times.
10 times? Yeah. 2 times. Sound more like 10.
I only heard it. I think twice.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I think 3 times.
Inception. That's impossible. Inception. Yeah. Before you tell me it's impossible. No.
What do you want? Inception? It's like, oh.
Actually, I remember
Yeah.
4 different characters saying it.
All right. So maybe
Yeah,
Greedy
'cause
is a
at the
little
end,
bit
I think
closer.
even Maul says it at one point.
Yes. Cobb says it at least twice. Maul says it once.
And Saito says it once.
Saito says it once, and also what's the guy's name? Tom
that's
Hardy's Eames.
Yeah, Eames. That was what I was gonna say. I like how Eames, during that fight, it's like sometimes you just gotta dream bigger. Pulls out a grenade launcher, and then you never see him dream bigger again. He just
I know.
walks around like later on.
Oh,
Has
yeah,
an assault
that's true.
rifle. Like,
He
where's
takes
your
it.
where's your grenade launcher, Eames? Why aren't you thinking bigger?
Yeah, I love that line though when he says, "You mustn't
Yeah.
be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling."
Yeah, no, it's great. The flirting between those two is great.
Yes, they got great chemistry.
Yeah.
They hate each other like openly, but secretly we know they love each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Tom Hardy was especially good in this movie.
Yeah.
Being more of a I mean, I guess he was kind of more a main character, but he was kind of like in the background a lot. But I felt like he was pretty good. Way better than his portrayal of Captain Boomerang. I'll give him that. But I felt like everyone did a pretty good job. I mean, a lot of the extras also, like when they all like stare at the person who's like invading the dream, like very intense, Um, I think they Christopher Nolan definitely got the best out of all the actors and actresses.
Um, Going back to like confusing and characters, I feel like they brought too many people into the movie. Kind of one of those like just like okay, who's this? And I know it has to deal with the different levels of dreams and all that, but I don't know. At times it's just like okay, who's this? And then even some people you like forget about like Leonardo. I'm just gonna call him Leonardo. Like the people that are out to kill him. You're like, oh, there he is again. And then they're in the bathroom scene. He just kills them. You're like, oh, okay. And even though I know it's a dream, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I forgot about them. Because there's just so many characters that are going on throughout the whole movie.
I feel like they all had their purpose. Like they all had their goal they were trying to accomplish. The only weird one is Yusuf, who he was hired on to be the chemist, but yeah, they gave him like the super important mission of like driving the van around, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand that particular
Yeah.
part, but I feel like everyone else did have like their specific thing that they were doing, except maybe Ariadne, who was just there to keep an eye on Cobb, I guess. But she had a big moment near the end, though.
I like how she kept threatening to tell everyone, but then never told anybody. I'm going to tell them. They have to know.
Either you put me in this mission, or I tell them.
Well, even like after that, like so that's why she was on there. But then later on, when it became worse, she's like, "I'm going to tell everybody. They have to know." And then she still didn't tell anybody.
I guess she trusted that he would regain control by the end of it, which she did trust him by the end of it.
Yeah.
If I could backtrack just a little bit here.
Sure.
Greedy mentioned that there was too many characters in the movie, but I felt like it was actually a good number for like a heist movie, which this practically is. It's a bit of like a heist.
Yeah.
You need to have one person for each part of the job, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I feel like that's a pretty good number, and you mostly focus on Leonardo and Elliot Page. Everyone else is more so background, backup characters to the main 2 or 3. So I felt like it was actually a pretty good number for the whole heist aspect. And then they kept kind of like going back to like you mentioned Yusuf. He's he has his moments. He's driving the truck and he looks back and he's like, "Did y'all see that?" And everyone's just asleep. I found that very charming.
Yeah.
And then
I liked him as a character.
the whole section where what's his name, Arthur, is like bundling people together in the
That was awesome.
free fall section. Like, I like how they kind of layered those scenes on top of each other, showing how the van is still kind of slowly falling into the water, and then showing what Arthur's doing, and then showing what they're doing in the next stream at the same time, and then being a little bit longer on the other sections because they're taking longer in the dream space. So it was very. I mean, I felt like it was a good number of people.
Yeah.
I
did comment that obviously I know it really isn't, but like I like Cobb was like at one point was like, "Oh, that's the kick. So we've got 3 seconds for Yusuf, a few minutes for Arthur, and then like 20 for
60
us."
minutes or something.
Yeah, and then it's like 20 minutes of him navigating this elevator situation, and you're like, "Few minutes, huh?"
Yeah, they said that he only has 5 minutes, but that it felt like he was way longer doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was also fighting a guy for
Oh yeah, he
a minute
fought a
there
guy too.
He was just really fast.
He's so fast. Like, don't get me wrong, it was cool. I liked it, but
I
it
love
was
how
silly.
they kept like in the middle of the action they kept showing the van still in free fall because like
Yeah.
I'm like so invested in so many scenes that I forget that the van is still in free fall. So every time they show that, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job of keeping the layers connected, and making sure like you remember that they're still in the dream within the dream within the dream, Because if they didn't show that van falling and they didn't show what Arthur's doing at the same time, then it just turns into a action schlock movie for the third level, and then you kind of forget the whole gimmick of the movie, which is that they're things are happening simultaneously, just at different in different lengths of time. I guess you would say.
Yeah, whoever did the editing, I hope they got an Oscar or something. Because I mean, man, that was to layer everything like as it was layered, and how it shows everything like back and forth, and they keep going between all the different scenes happening simultaneously. That must have been a gargantuan task
Well, I'm
to
sure
make it a
Nolan
cohesive.
was definitely,
Yeah,
a big part of the editing. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it won an Oscar for that, though.
No,
Well,
it just got a nominee for
well-
Best Motion Picture of the Year.
so yeah, it
Oh,
got
yeah.
cinematography, it got sound mixing, sound editing, and visual effects.
Mm.
The
Or
rest of them,
it won, yeah.
yeah, but the rest of them were just nominees for screenplay and best picture. And
Art direction.
apparently, they had music written for motion picture. Hans Zimmer.
Mm.
I didn't even really notice the music throughout this. Did you guys?
Really?
I
Yeah, I
noticed
thought the music was great.
I mean,
It has
I
a very
I don't know. Maybe I just didn't listen to it.
well, at the time it was a very unique soundtrack, and I feel
That
like
would've-
so many movies copy that style afterwards.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer's scores are at this 2010 era, because he did like the Batman Arkham games, and he did this movie, he did the Modern Warfare. A lot of them sound very similar, so the music kind
Yeah,
of
it's just
blends
like
in with
Heist music, yeah.
what's happening, but it's not as I felt like this soundtrack in particular was not as like bombastic as the other ones that he's done. I felt like I'm in the same boat as Greedy. Like I didn't really notice the music, and maybe it's because there wasn't like a main theme throughout the movie. Like, everyone remembers Modern Warfare 2, or you remember the Dark Knight theme, or you remember whatever. This movie just doesn't have like that hook, that hook that you need in a soundtrack to make it memorable.
I don't know. Maybe I just played too many like video games that like just it's all sounded the same as like that. I don't know.
This movie's score does have a different vibe to it, but it's not as memorable as other things that Hans Zimmer has done, in my opinion. Which
I
is why it
guess
just
I
kinda
don't.
blends in with the rest of what's going on.
Yeah, hey, hold on.
You're like, oh, hold the mic.
Yeah,
That was
I mean,
a big one.
Hans Zimmerman, I'm more like familiar with, because I believe he's the one who did Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
I'm
not
gonna
sure.
say maybe. I don't remember.
But like Pirates of the Caribbean, that's memorable.
Yes,
It's
That's a
like,
very
I don't-
memorable tune.
Very
Yeah.
memorable.
But I guess I don't agree because I do think that the soundtrack, well, to me personally, was very memorable, and I do think that it
Sing a
blended
song for
well
me.
with the action and all that.
He did Dunkirk, Dark Knight, Inception.
I've already mentioned a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
we did.
I know.
I don't know. I just like hum a tune from the movie. Like that's the way to tell if it's actually memorable or not.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't either.
I can hum you something from the trailer.
Yeah, real quick. Let me look up. Oh, you did Black Adam?
Any more things from his IMDb you want to?
Nope. I'm
Okay.
good.
Did he
I
do
already-
Pirates of the
already-
Caribbean though?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
didn't-
the
I don't know.
main reason we went there. I don't think he did.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about pirates. Let me click see y'all. Dark Knight Rises, Thor, Inception.
Well, once again, I just say,
Nope. Yeah,
you
it
know-
was Klaus Badel
He did Master and Commander.
and Jeff Zanelli.
any more movies?
While we're
Twister.
Hans Zimmer did produce it. Was a producer for it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
He did the soundtrack for The Lion King, which was great, and then they fucked it up in the 2019 remake. So
As they do. Anyways, we're off topic here.
this was a time when Hans Zimmer was at his height, and he was just making soundtrack after soundtrack after soundtrack. And I just feel like this one just is not memorable, in my opinion. It's good, not memorable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I guess your point is proven because I've been trying to think of what the tune is like because it pops up
Yes.
several times in the movie and I just cannot think of what it was. I cannot hum
Boom.
it.
All right, so that's one for me, and probably about 15 for Callus, but that's still one for me. So there we go.
Still only counts as one.
So, I'm this movie was very popular. I'm almost wondering why they never did like a Inception 2 or something like that.
Christopher Nolan's not known for that though.
Yeah.
He's not known for that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told the
Well,
story he wanted to. And
The
he was
Dark
done with
Knight
it.
Rises, The Batman Begins. There's a whole
Those
trilogy
were
right there.
always planned as trilogy. Like
Yeah.
that was always planned as a trilogy.
Yeah, he
He's
had a
also
plan
got
as
a very
trilogy,
limited
but-
discography. It's not. He doesn't have like a huge filmography. I meant to say, not discography. But a lot of studios will push to have like a sequel. Like I'm sure that he was probably probably pushed to make an Inception 2, and maybe he just didn't have a good idea. I mean, I guess you could say Tenet is kind of like Inception 2.
Mhm.
Kind of. It's more about reversing time, but
Yeah. Nothing to do with dreams.
kind of, maybe.
I'm surprised I'm still connected because like the lights just went.
Now we
out
hear
and,
we hear the rain now.
Oh, now you hear the rain cheese. Okay, I'm gonna try. Should I try turning the gain down a bit,
You're
or
fine.
should I not mess around with the volume?
It's just the vibe of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure. All right, we're in the first dream level right now.
Someone is in water, and it's making it rain in Florida.
but going back to what Yemmy was saying is, maybe just like Inception came out, and I think too many movies took after Inception. What's the one movie I'm thinking of where they take the pill and like they put it under their tongue and it does like the same thing? It was like a Netflix movie. I don't know. Shutter Island? No. I mean, Shutter Island is also still like the same idea, but I think there was just too many movies that took after Inception, and I think he was just like, okay, well,
That's
Yeah.
Kinda ran
I
its
can't
course,
really
you
think
know.
of a movie that's like Inception.
what's the one movie I'm thinking about? Like they put like a little thing under their tongue, and it does like the same thing where it goes into people's minds, and they can mess around with people's mind. I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I know that. Inception was parodied a lot, like in South Park and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of like another movie that's like Inception. I'm sure there's a Netflix movie because Netflix copies everything.
Yeah, that's true.
But I can't think of like a mainline release that was like, this is the next Inception, because that's how they would, they would promote it. They'd be like, it's in the next, this is like Inception, they do the whole thing,
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that all the studios copied from Inception was the trailer. Wham.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up too. Like that was everywhere in all the trailers.
Yeah. Inception did it first, and then everyone did it after. I think we
I was thinking of
finally
Limitless.
stopped doing
Okay.
it.
But Limitless makes you smarter. Okay, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I
So
thought,
yeah, I guess I guess Inception really was like a. I don't think it's based off of a book or anything. This is like one of those original
it's his
IPs
own.
that really
He
just
wrote it.
exploded, and then
Yeah,
no one
he-
else could copy off of it because the movie is just so good,
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember hearing an interview from Christopher Nolan that he and his brother had been talking for years and years about like exploring the concept of being in a dream and stuff like that, and I guess eventually they did come up with a script for Inception.
And the first thing they thought of was Dom Cobb.
Hey, a rememberable name. You gotta give him that.
But yeah, I guess that's just the staying power. Like I think I said this before, but that's just the staying power of Inception. It came out in 2010, still very impressive to this day, and there's really no other movie like it. Like I guess Tenet kind of comes close, but Inception.
Tenet-
It's also Nolan.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Senna has the problem of it being like a little bit too complex, and like it definitely doesn't have the power that Inception does.
Say, I didn't see Tenet, but I've watched like YouTube stuff about it, and it's just like this just seems like it was a mess. Like you had an idea, but you didn't know where to do with it.
Well, yeah, that's the reason why I kind of called it the sequel to Inception is, because it kind of has a few of the same concepts going on. I would say, with like, because there's like different timelines to each dream and stuff like that, and Tenet, things are going in reverse and stuff like that. I don't know. Seems like he he tried to hit gold twice, and it only
Yeah.
happened once. I guess you could say that about his other, like, I think he did. I guess he didn't do another sci-fi movie, but Interstellar was a big one, but he didn't do another sci-fi movie. Yeah. But yeah, I guess he tried to strike with the whole Inception thing twice, and it didn't really work out in Tenet, I guess.
All right. Are there like any particular scenes that you guys want to talk about from Inception?
I mean,
Well,
the ending, like
yeah.
where he gets to his kids, that's a very touchy,
Oh yeah.
touching and feeling good.
Is
Did
it
he actually get to his
touching?
kids?
Yeah.
Did he
Yeah, or is
actually
he-
get there?
Yeah, or is
Yeah.
he still in his dreams?
I
Don't
mean,
know.
that top doesn't wobble. I mean, it wobbles a little bit, but it's not. It doesn't fall over.
Yeah.
We don't see
and
it fall
also
over.
the kids are the exact same age as the day he left.
No, they weren't. They like the first time they showed them, they were the exact same age, and then they showed Cobb, and then they showed the kids again, and then like the second time they showed them, they're much older. When they actually turn around, they're much older.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel like he probably got home.
Mm.
All right, do you guys want to know
I'm
a
in the
fun
boat.
fact about
Fun
the
facts
movie?
go.
Hit
All
us.
right, fun fact.
A
Hit
fun
us.
fact. So the reason why Dom keeps going into dreams is so that he can be together with his wife, because he says, in the dreams we are still together, and that's represented by him still having his wedding ring in the dream world, but in the real world you don't see a wedding ring. And in that final scene when he spins the top and he's back with his kids, you don't see a ring on his finger. So is that proof that he's actually in the real world? Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know, but like then he was on the phone early on in the movie. Like, where was the aunt at? I mean, I'm
grandma?
assuming that is, or yeah, the grandma, and I'm assuming that was his grandpa, right? Like at the end.
Well,
That
I
little
think that
man.
they were Maul's parents.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. And then like they said, you got to have that thing where got to fall over or wobble or whatever.
Well, because he knows the top, I just feel like the wedding ring is not as important as the top falling over or whatever, because that's his thing, that's his little doohickey that tells him if he's still dreaming or not. And I think the main other thing that kind of makes me believe that he's still in a dream is just how the editing is the same as when they're in the dream, where just kind of like going from scene to scene, without any context in between. Almost, he's in the airport and everything's just going so perfectly, and then all of a sudden he's home and his dad's there, and
Well, I mean, you see his dad pick him up, or father-in-law, whatever the relationship.
Right, yeah.
You see him pick him up at the
The
airport.
airport.
We don't
But-
want to see as it's the
but
climax of the movie.
my point is, no, it's not the climax. The climax is
No, yeah, but it's
before this is
it's
the
wrapping
ending wrap up. But my point is that it's edited the same way.
Yeah, but didn't he also say early on in the movie, like every time the kids turn around, like he couldn't see the kid's face?
No,
Or was he just,
turns himself
like,
away
He was
from it.
avoiding
He
it
wanted-
himself.
Yeah, he was
wanted
avoiding it.
to
Oh,
see
okay.
them in the
Okay.
real world.
if he
instead
saw
of-
their faces in the dream, then he would just stay in the dream.
Yeah, that's.
Which is kind of what is implied there at the end. He finally sees their faces, and he doesn't care if it's the dream or not. He's happy there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
But
just saying-
also, there's the thing where they are like every time he sees them in the dream world, they're like they're a very young age. But when they turn around, they are older, actually. So he's
Now
never seen
that
them
I'm-
older.
Like talking to you guys about it, it seems like the ending is a little too happy because he was always like throughout the whole movie, he's like, I can't go back. Everyone thinks I killed her, and all this and that, and everything seems like, it's just all better and all happy.
Well, he did the job, and the powerful Sato, fixed it somehow.
Sato.
Saito,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
yeah,
I
maybe
guess
if
he
they,
does get enough money.
maybe they should have dressed them in more like different clothing, the kids, because the clothing that they're dressed in is very similar to what we've seen them in throughout the
Well,
movie.
Christopher Nolan, like when this came out, there's all these questions about it, and like he purposely made it so you didn't
yeah.
know if he was out of the dream or not.
Just like the end of the thing, it's purposely ambiguous so that you talk about it.
yeah.
And I think the problem with this ending is there's like they cut the camera just a second too early, you know?
Yeah.
That was the point.
Yeah.
They did it on purpose.
So I'm in the dream boat. That's my
The dream boat.
Yeah.
I'm in the dream boat.
I'm in the real world boat, I guess.
Yeah, I flip flop back and forth. I'm like sometimes like, yeah, he's probably the real world.
You
Maybe
got
not.
one foot in both boats.
Yeah,
I see.
I'm holding the boats together so we can all talk. Okay.
He has both feet in both boats, and he has a flag in his hand, riding down the river.
I just picturing it in my head. Wait, Greedy, which boat are you in?
I think it's real. I don't know.
Mm.
It's very like the whole scene, like the airport scene just seems so real. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then in leading up to the everything else, but then again, like talking to you guys now, like now that I'm thinking about it, everything seemed too happy at the end.
He finally deserved his happy ending. You know.
Yeah, it's a happy ending.
He finally was proven that he didn't kill his wife by some Japanese man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who has the power in America to make things go away.
And you don't see that as a dream-like thing.
I don't know. He had enough money to like buy a whole airline, so sure.
But was he
I
actually
believe that
real
money
in
can
the
buy
first
anything.
place?
That's true. The that one scene where he's in the bathroom and he tries to spin the top and he just falls on the ground, and then Saito comes in and he's like, "Are you okay?" A lot of fans believe that
he's never left the dream at that point. I thought about that too.
A lot of fans think that from that point forward, it's like Cobb is still in the dream world. Like for the whole rest of the movie, is still dreaming.
That's right, Nolan. If you're listening to this, we need a second movie. We need answers.
Yeah, maybe we don't need a second movie, but we could at least get like a book adaptation that
A
goes
DLC?
into more detail.
We need DLC.
Book
DLC
count
for a
them.
movie.
Yes.
Here's a 5-second video. Go see it in theaters.
No, I could see them totally like the studios going to Christopher Nolan and say, we need another Inception. He's like, I don't have another Inception. You know what we can do though? Let's just re-release it in the theaters, add an extra 5 seconds at the end where you see the top finally fall.
Or not. Would that turn everything upside down is that they don't show it. It just keeps going. And then it's like an hour later, the top's still spinning. You know?
Yeah, the 4-hour cut. And then the last hour and a half is just this top spinning.
And then they still cut it off right as it starts to wobble, you know?
It wobbles at the end of the hour and a half.
Yep, and then they still cut it. They just cut it.
Yeah, it looks like it's about to wobble, then it pops back up, and then it cuts. You're gonna have to wait for the director cut.
Yeah.
In 10 years.
The release.
Oh man, I missed it. I should have rewatched it for like the 10th year anniversary. I missed that opportunity. I'm gonna have to wait for the 20th.
COVID years.
We're closer to the 10th anniversary than the 20th anniversary, so I think you're fine.
Are we?
Yeah, I mean, you can watch it again for the 20th too. There's nothing stopping.
Yeah, have fun watching it in 2030.
Cool. I'm gonna watch it every year since.
Okay.
Or until.
All right. Anything else?
One more fun fact about the movie. Well, I mean, not really related to the movie, a little bit. Okay, so you know that song that plays whenever they want to notify each other of the cake?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That French song is by it's called La Vie en Rose by French artist Edith Piaf. Now, there's also a movie about her life called La Vie en Rose, about the story of her life of becoming an artist and whatnot. And it's a very interesting movie. But the artist is played by Marion Cotillard, same actress that plays Mal in this movie.
Ooh.
So that was a fun fact.
So that's actually the prequel to Inception.
Yeah. What was that, Yemmy?
That's the prequel to Inception.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I want the prequel where the army's figuring out this shit, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh well, we tried this serum, it just killed them.
Nope.
We'll try another one, and we'll get it eventually, I'm sure."
They'll name that movie Preception.
Yes,
Exception.
I love it.
I do think that would be interesting to see the trials leading up. Maybe you could make it more like a horror movie, kind of like
Yeah.
that episode of Black Mirror where the guy puts on the VR headset and he dies in like a millisecond, but in his time it's like days or whatever. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it could potentially be pretty cool if done right.
Like, you go into the guy's dream and, in the real world, he only lived for like a minute with in the Inception world or whatever you want to call it, the dream world. But in the dream world, he's, they're living for hours. Might be kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Although who wants to see a bunch of gruff army dudes being like, oh my god. Ah.
I'm sure Greedy would like that.
Oh.
Speaking of,
I mean, if you
speaking
make
of,
good characters, you can make good characters.
speaking of like a horror theme though, there was like 2 jump scares in this movie.
Oh
Really?
yeah, when
The
when
train shows up.
Ariadne is screaming.
Oh yeah, the train.
Well,
And then
Yeah.
when the there's like a loud noise when when she looks up, the wife looks up. Two
Jump scares. It was just just loudness.
That would be a jump scare. Jump scare is defined as a just a loud noise.
Loud noise that made you jump.
Yeah,
I know. I was trying to play it off.
I'm
Or the scene where she's like banging on the door or the cage during Leonardo's first dream, where the girl jumps in, where you meet the wife for the first time apparently.
I'm trying to remember that.
Well, you meet her in the opening. She's there in the dream within the dream, and she kills or she shoots Arthur in the leg or whatever.
Yeah,
Not Arthur.
Yeah.
she sabotages.
No, yeah,
him.
it is.
Yeah, it was Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
I think I'm good.
No, I think that's good.
I think I'm good too.
All right, Thunder
All right,
Cheeks.
Thunder. Yeah.
Go
let's
ahead and start us off with your final rating and thoughts. Thoughts and rating.
All right.
That.
So yeah, like I said, I don't know what it is. Okay, the lights just flash again. I
Yeah,
I
you
thought
got
I
it.
was
still
like, watch,
connected.
we'll lose them. Yeah.
Quickly,
I
I'm
Cal,
surprised.
saw it,
quickly.
and he's gone.
It's crazy. It's like the 3rd time that the lights has flashed. Okay, so I'm gonna try to speed it up because I may not have long. So I love this movie. No matter how many times I watch it, I still somehow enjoy it, as much as almost the first time I watched it. So it's crazy to me because actually I don't really rewatch movies that often. There's like very very few that I actually do that on. But because of that, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. We didn't really talk about the acting much, but I enjoy the acting from everyone for the most part. I think the special effects were really greatly done. The creativeness of like the different layers happening simultaneously, I think it's like a really cool concept that only someone like Christopher Nolan can pull off successfully as he did here. And overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna do a Film Freaks first and go all Dolby surround on all of y'all and give it a 5.1
Oh.
out of 5.
Not allowed.
I don't
You're
know.
off the
Fine.
podcast.
5 out of 5, fine.
All right. 5.1. I'm next. Right. Yeah, I mean, it almost gets more enjoyable as it goes on, but it's always been like a baseline enjoyable movie. Very interesting, great cinematography, really good visual effects that hold up to this day, mostly, except for one thing, but like, who cares, Yeah, I guess my only real gripe is like, as I mentioned before, the music it doesn't really stand out to me personally, but the rest of the movie is just so good. The pros really outweigh the cons with this one, and I would say that it is a bit nitpicking to point out the music as heavily as I did. But I mean, everything else is really well done in this movie. It was definitely like at the time it was huge, and I think it still has lasting power. You could easily watch this nowadays with a fresh perspective and be mesmerized by everything going on, and maybe a little bit confused, but I think it's easy enough to pick up and understand, and at least the base stuff. It's easy enough to pick up that stuff, and on multiple watches you can understand more and figure out more. The ending intentionally ambiguous, which I actually I like that because it does open up conversation, just like the ending of The Thing, which is my favorite horror movie. So it does have some similarities there, and yeah, it holds up really well. There's nothing that I would say was bad about it. So I'm not saying Callus is pointing a gun at my head or anything, but it is a 5 out of 5 for me.
Hey.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, earlier, it was a little confusing, but can't take much hate for it because like I said, you expect it. Like I did not go into this movie not expecting to be confused, but it still drawed me in. It still kept me attentive. It still kept I still understood what was going on and what layers of dreams they were in. They did a good job with all the leveling, all the design, and all. It was visually pleasing too. It was a good watch, and the only scene that was didn't age well is where they stepped onto the side or stepped onto the street. That was a little rough, but it was only a 5-second scene, not even, and it was very quick. But it was still overall it was a great movie, great watch. Leonardo is in another fantastic film, but it was definitely a good watch, and I definitely will watch it again, and hopefully sooner rather than later, so I can have more of a remembrance of what's going on, and I can understand the behind the scenes stuff a little more. But I originally rated it a 4. I'm gonna raise it up to a 4.5 out of 5.
Blasphemy.
Wow.
Callus now has disowned you.
Shame.
He changed his score, so
Yeah, he got it.
Just talking to you guys,
something. Remember Kung Pao? I think Greedy originally had that rated as like a 1.5 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I had to really talk that one up.
Well, don't worry, Greedy. I give this a 1.1.
What?
And my reasons are none. I don't have any reasons for that. No, I agree with everything you guys said. I really enjoy this movie. Liked it back then, still like it now. I mean, there's still little things you can nitpick. It's like, well, some of this time dilation doesn't add up, but whatever. It's a movie. Overall, really enjoy it. Maybe I'll watch it again in 10 years, and yeah, I will give it a 5 out of 5 as well.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. Well, as you all know, the fan vote happened during Tay's episode, which had a bit of a flub. I do apologize that the original version of the episode came out muted for some reason on all platforms. I have no clue what happened because I edited literally the same day that I uploaded it and everything was fine. So hopefully that doesn't happen to this one. But as you know, the fan vote happened and it was a close race. I gotta tell you, there was 2 movies neck and neck for the entire run, with one movie kind of trying to get in there but not exactly getting over the hump. But what ended up winning was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once from 2022. This will be the newest movie we've reviewed so far, which was directed by Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan. And
Let's just call them the Daniels.
The Daniels.
The Daniels, yeah.
My good friend Dan and Dan. And the movie is about an aging Chinese immigrant who is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save what's important to her by connecting with the lives she could have led in other universes. And this stars Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, Kei Hoi Kwan, James Hong, Jamie Lee Curtis, and a bunch of other actors and actresses as well. And I do believe that Topos will be joining us for the conversation. coming back on the podcast to talk about this movie. As you may or may not know, it did sweep the Oscars. It won a lot of awards, which we'll talk about next time, I'm sure as well. And it does fit the Inception theme. So we got a interesting, crazy movie, and now we have another more interesting and probably more crazy movie.
Excited. I haven't seen it yet, and I've been holding out on seeing it until I got picked for this podcast. So
I haven't seen it either.
You know,
I've been wanting to, though. Like, I've been wanting to so bad.
I've been wanting to watch it again after seeing it in theaters, and here we are.
Cool.
I know someone highly in our Discords likes the movie, so we'll see.
Yes, me?
Mhm.
I've actually I've only seen it in theaters, but I do have like a Blu-ray for it already, so I'm good to go.
Well, if you don't have the Blu-ray, it is on HBO Max.
And Amazon Prime, I thought.
Yeah, Amazon.
No, it's only available to buy on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
So it is only available on to rent, or not rent, but stream from Amazon Prime right now.
Okay. Well, luckily I've got that, so.
There you go. I think, is it also on Paramount Plus? It looks like it's also on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Oops.
I know I've seen it like advertised on something.
I've seen it advertised on
TV
HBO. I know that for sure. HBO Max. So I mean, you might have. I mean, you know, it's one of those moments where it's like you might have to buy it if you don't have one of those services, or you could just get a trial version of one of those services and check it out if you want to.
On my end, it looks like it might be only available on Apple TV / Showtime.
I've seen it on HBO Max every time I log in on there. If it's not on there anymore, I'm gonna cry because I've been waiting to rewatch it, and I'm like, it's on HBO. It's on HBO. Yeah, maybe I'll just watch Zack Snyder's Justice League again instead.
Oops.
Oh wow, okay.
No,
Why would you do that to yourself?
I watched it once, and just to validate all my opinions about Zack Snyder, because apparently it wasn't good enough to just have all the other films in his repertoire under my thumb to judge. But,
I have a friend who did the same, where he's like, I'm watching this again just so I can tell you how stupid it still is.
You gotta watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you don't watch that movie, you're just a hater. Okay, I watched it and I don't like it. Am I valid now?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
I'm very sorry, Yemmy, but I just pulled up HBO Max and I don't see that movie on there, so they might have removed it.
Well, maybe I'll just buy a 4K
It's on
Blu-ray.
Showtime now, I think.
Showtime is owned by HBO, I think.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll figure it out.
I just tried searching for it. I didn't find it.
If it's not on HBO Max, I'll probably just buy the Blu-ray, because I liked the movie a lot when I originally saw it, and I have no doubt in my mind that I'll like it the same amount this time around. But that's kind of spoilerish. Okay. If you don't want to be spoiled yourself, or if you want to join the conversation for the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, please make sure you watch that before the next episode airs in 2 weeks. We'll reconvene and we'll talk about it, just like we did for this movie Inception. And
Did we know, or were we sleeping the whole time?
And if you want to recommend a movie within a movie within a movie for the podcast, make sure you submit your requests on either the places that I told you about, through email, Discord, YouTube, etc. And does anyone else have anything they want to mention before we end the show?
It just reminded me of
Is a storm over Callus?
No, like before Tay says his thing that he's gonna say, I was gonna say, like, I forgot I was gonna do this whole skit where I did like a review within a review, and I would just like review a specific scene and like give it a star rating or whatever, but I totally forgot to do that.
Oops.
How could you? How could you?
Well, we kind of reviewed a movie within a movie with the Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
We also talked about Doctor Strange. That was a movie within a movie review.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, if only we had gone into another movie while talking about Doctor Strange, then that would be
There we
true
go.
review-ception.
Sweet levels.
Alrighty, well, I am Yemmy. I'm sorry. I am a ferret within a ferret within a ferret, and I'm here with.
Inception waffles. I think I did.
Yep. On Architect Tay.
And the shade of blue, Callus.
And this has been Film Freakz with a Z. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to clean your ass.
Don't forget
There
to
it
clean
is.
your ass.
Almost snuck away.